CNN has a freak out at the thought of Trump starting anew with his new government. We've got good news. It's all good news. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. I hope you guys have visited the Doug in Exile store, seen our t-shirt and mugs. If you've seen them, cool. Hope you guys have given us a like, a thumbs up recently, and a comment. Let us know you're there. And of course, subscribe if you haven't yet. That's how you get the videos sent out to you every day. Here's Trump. Now, this was a campaign promise on day one of his administration.
I will ask for the resignations of every single senior military official who touched the Afghanistan disaster. I want their resignations immediately. And I want them on the desk in the Oval Office, the Resolute desk. I want them on at 12 o'clock, Inauguration Day.
So they got about a month. Give him the boot. 2 months. I'm with him. Anyone involved in the Afghanistan disaster who was at all responsible, got him. Take him out. Out of your job, you're fired. Remember, he also promised he'd be a dictator or a tyrant of some kind on day one. And that's why I voted for him. So I'm still demanding he be a dictator on day one, or I'm going to call that he broke a campaign promise. I'm holding him to that one too. Anything he promised. Now, the Democrats, they lied. They said that he would put Democrat voters in jail, which they were trying to get me to vote for him even harder in saying that.
What would a second Donald Trump term look like?
He cannot be the next president because if he is...
You can't imagine the things that he's going to do. Mexico, Canada. We can't go to Canada because eventually Canada will become annexed to America.
And shoot visitors to the White House. Yeah, that means he can shoot the First Lady.
We're going to see violence, the likes of which we didn't even see on January 6th.
Make it illegal to run against him, to throw his opponents in jail, to shut down the media.
He will make himself into the Fuhrer, and he will make everybody raise their hand and salute him.
Terminate the Constitution.
To rewrite the Constitution.
Create mass internment camps.
Throw everyone into Gitmo.
Might be sent to jail, or their rights might be suppressed, especially minority groups in society.
You might have any number of things happen to you and your family.
Every one of us, our freedom, our liberty, none of us is safe.
It's going to have people around him executing against an enemy's list.
Assassinate generals.
Ordering troops to attack American citizens.
Trump's very well-armed and extremist base will try to kill people.
He's going to basically burn the house down.
He will unravel the institutions of our democracy.
Draw similarities between Mussolini and Hitler.
Wants to take away your vote.
Senate and the House are immediately going to be paralyzed.
This is the end of democracy.
I think that could be the end of our democracy.
But democracy is dead if Trump is reelected.
Cozy up to Putin that democracy will be at risk.
The absolute destruction of the Justice Department as we know it.
The Justice Department could be entirely transformed.
I am really concerned about that.
Every person who was associated with the attempted coup elevated in the administration.
That he would try to stay in office beyond a second term. That he would never leave office.
There's no question.
Trump is reelected, he won't leave.
Donald Trump will never leave office voluntarily.
He's not going to do that. That was not a promise that he made. But getting rid of all those Pentagon people on that Afghanistan disaster, gone.
If you look at the arc of the Biden presidency, he was in really good shape until August of 2021. When Afghanistan happened, he went under 40, she went under 40, and they really lived there until the end of the He's still there.
Why?
Look, I'll tell you
because
why.
Because he ran and told us that the adults were back in charge, and that was the opposite.
Yeah, they
of
were
that.
because
and
Donald Trump was a child.
And you know what else?
Yeah.
And you know what else? The fact that they wouldn't give these 13 service members' families the time of
bullshit,
day.
Dude.
The time of day.
I'm sorry, but Donald Trump hates veterans. He called them suckers and losers. He did. He absolutely, he has his whole life. He has his entire life.
I know you're super emotional. I just.
Of course I am. I'm terrified.
I'm telling you, the political reality is that when they made that decision.
It doesn't matter. What you don't admit to
that
Donald Trump hates veterans. You don't admit it. You deny a man, Chief John Kelly, a Marine. You say he lied.
You're still campaigning.
You say he lied.
You also have a potential candidate for Attorney General, Republican lawyer Mike Davis, tweeting that he wants to put this up on screen. Drag Democrats, quote, dead political bodies through the streets, burn them and throw them off the wall, legally, politically, and financially, of course, he says.
That's Mike Davis. He's reading a Mike Davis tweet that was, I've read Mike Davis for years, and he's cracking jokes, drag them through the streets and throw them off of buildings. I think he just wanted to get on CNN, he's even joked that he's too radical to be the attorney general. He just said, I've said too many, I've been too honest. I've said too many things that he can't get. I would love to see him as attorney general. Are you kidding? But CNN is reading his joke tweets like they're serious, which is how you get someone in trouble. Just take anything when you know someone's joking, like he says, throw their bodies off of the building, throw them off the wall. Oh, this is too good.
Maria, what thoughts go through your mind when you see this kind of rhetoric being thrown around?
What a stand-up guy. I hope his mom is proud. And this is exactly the challenge. I will repeat what Vice President Harris said in her speech. She and all of us concede the election because we understand what a true democracy is all about.
Okay, now I have to get hairdo there straightened out, because Kamala Harris and Biden did not say those words. They were kidding when they said, we know what a peaceful transfer of power is, and this is our peaceful transfer. See, they were kidding. So CNN, when someone's kidding, they take it serious. And then when someone says something serious, you look at all the riot gear right now. Chicago, in some of the major Antifa cities.
This is the big protest outside City Hall in Philadelphia. There's maybe 24 people, maybe 36 people.
It's all Democrats lined up and ready for the inauguration day 20. So Kamala Harris goes, they were only doing it to try and grind Trump's nose. Going, see, unlike you, we had a peaceful transfer of power, and it's important that we practice this peaceful. It's like a passive aggressive, see, Donald, what we did, without acknowledging something because Trump won. I mean it, because they didn't have the COVID pandemic and the number of mail-in ballots that they had. I do believe it's possible that the lockdown and mail-in ballots and the sickness and all that could have inspired more people to vote, because it's easier for people to mail in than go in person. And it's entirely possible that Trump would have won that election if he did push people to mail in ballots instead of show up in person. That's my full opinion on it, okay?
Hopefully Trump has learned that lesson, but I don't know. And hopefully Republicans will now shut the F up about voter fraud.
Don't tell me to shut the F up. Because if if Trump got 15 million more mail-in ballots than he did, and you tried questioning them in the courts and all 70 courts failed you and said they wouldn't look at him, you might have a problem too. That's all.
I'm not convinced. I hope he proves me wrong, because the first thing that his press secretary tweeted was that on day 1, he is going to implement mass deportation. Mass deportation means...
That's a promise Trump made. Trump has to do that. He promised he would do mass deportations of illegals, especially criminals, he said.
A huge bungling of the economy. It means families being separated. It means tragedy in communities across the country.
Well, it doesn't matter what the fallout is. You have to restore the rule of law. You can't allow an open border, and you can't allow illegal people that come here, flaunt it illegally to stay. And this, we'll get to this next clip, but it polls at about 60 to 80% to deport illegals.
The country spoke very fervently on Tuesday night about where they go. And
Donald
I think
Trump said, I will be your retribution.
Yeah, Donald Trump also said he was going to be a president for all Americans. He made it very clear on Tuesday.
Yeah, he's right. Trump said he'd be our retribution. And maybe that's where his mandate came from. Maybe that's why he's the most popular Republican president in my lifetime. He got the House, he got the Senate, because he said, I'll be your retribution. And he said, I'd be a dictator on day 1 and I would deport illegals. He said all that.
But don't y'all find it strange that now that he's won, they're not calling him a threat to democracy? They're not calling him a fascist?
So maybe he did get a mandate from everyone to do exactly that.
Now, I'm going to speak some hard truths to my friends in the Democratic Party. This is not Joe Biden's fault. It's not Kamala Harris's fault. It's not Barack Obama's fault. It is the fault of the Democratic Party in not knowing how to communicate effectively to voters. We are not the party of common sense, which is the message that voters sent to us.
This has two different meanings. I can't follow her at all. The Democrat Party isn't able to communicate, but they don't have common sense. No, the Democrat Party does not want to communicate what they really believe. They never did. Their problem isn't a lack of the ability, it's the lack of the desire to communicate.
For a number of reasons, we don't know how to speak to voters.
And she's demonstrating it right now. She doesn't know how to articulate ideas. It's not that she's talking. She knows how to speak to people. They don't know how to speak to voters. They don't know how to make them agree with stuff that they think is psycho.
When we address Latino, and language has meaning. When we address Latino voters as Latinx, for instance, because that's the politically correct thing to do, it makes them think that we don't even live on the same planet as they do.
Well, you don't. When you make us talk like Latino, you roll everything, you make us, and then Kamala, we spent the last year being corrected by Kamala. It's Kamala or Kamala. I don't even know how to say it. You guys, they just sat there and just, America's last memory of Kamala is that she barked at us about her name.
When we are too afraid to say that, hey, college kids, if you're trashing a campus at Columbia University because you're unhappy about some sort of policy and you're taking over a university, and you're trashing it and preventing other students from learning, that is unacceptable. But we're so worried about alienating one or another cohort in our coalition that we don't know what to say when normal people look at that and say, wait a second, I send my kids to college so they can learn, not so that they can burn buildings and trash lawns, right?
Go back and listen to that whole clip again, and you'll see she proves what she's saying in that she cannot properly communicate. She uses generic terms like, we can't even talk about when students go on a campus and burn things down. She did not call out Hamas or Palestinian protesters, who are the ones who kept Jews from going to class and burned it. So even she, as a Democrat, cannot tell the truth about what she's even talking about on the air. So the Democrat Party, you guys were never able to call out the Palestinian protests on your own campus against Israel, who were victims on October 7th. And now I'm just going to leave you with this great guy. I'm Doug in exile.
Okay, so since Trump won the election, we're cooked. Yup. I'm going to be leaving the U.S. and I'm going to be moving to Hawaii.